How to operate like a boss. If you're running a coaching, consulting, agency, any sort of service-based business, most of you act like an employee because you are one. Most of you do not know how to delegate. Most of you do not know how to actually set up a business, not an offer. Most people sell offers. You need to sell a business model. And no, there's not some Luke Belmar stuff who says, you got to be a boss, bro. You got to be a hustler. It's just straight talk coming from someone who has worked with 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, scaled past 50K with clients or in my consulting business as own. And in general, I just know how high level or A players operate because I've managed teams, I've done sales, I've done all of it as a part of teams of these large corporations, working with celebrities like Rick Ross and anyone you can kind of name. I've been around for a while, and today I'm going to teach you the 4 pillars of business and how to operate like a boss. Let's get through it. Now, these 4 pillars I wanted to make as a structure for this entire video so you understand what basis and thesis that I'm using. First, we have sales. Now, sales is super simple. Setting, it needs to be done by a setter, not a VA. Now, why do I specifically mention a setter, not a VA? Because most of you guys are running an offer. What you do is that you get a Filipino guy and tell him, hey, bro, just do the setting. You give him a script, he copies and pastes that. He uses like 2% of his brain power, maybe, and then he just does that. But truthfully, in any business or any sort of way you're going to run, you need people that can think. As soon as you can find someone that can think, you're going to make money. Why? Because thinking is the hardest part. Because you're not competing against, yourself. Of course, like in the start, a lot of people say that. And even to a degree, if you're like at 5K, even 10K a month, you are competing with yourself. But as you go higher and higher up, you're competing with multiple people. There is competition. That's why it's valuable in the first place. So if you can delegate the thinking on certain sectors of your business, you're going to make more money. Now, let me elaborate a little bit. Now, what does a setter do is that they see what's happening, they're in the trenches, and they understand your scenario, and then they come up with the better and improvements. Why is this crucial? Because these improvements are going to get you a what? Ahead of the market. You're going to be ahead of the market, which is going to cause you to become more successful. Makes sense, right? Now, why a VA cannot do that? A VA does not think. VAs, most of the time, they're low paid labor. They don't think, or even if you're paying them, they don't want to think that much. So their thinking capacity is just zero. And we can just cut it off like that. They are good for doing copy paste tasks. They're good for doing something you want to like just mindless work basically, but AI can do that. So here, setting has to be done by a setter. Don't have a VA. And of course, if you're starting out, if you're literally like making no money, then you need to do it yourself. Of course, why would you like hire someone if you don't know what you're doing yourself? Second part is you need to just use an automated system like we do. Now we book calls on the fly, like anything. I think we booked 208 calls since the past 30 days. Half of them were DQ'd because of our AI system, and it was all on autopilot. Like literally everything was just automatically done. Nothing. The guy was just sitting there taking calls, our guy JC, and we were just making money on the fly. Now you got closing. Now, if you're selling an offer above 5K, you need to close yourself. This is extremely crucial because the higher the value goes, the higher the information and the trust is going to take for someone to click the buy button. Let me repeat that again. The higher the price point, the PP, it means the more information and trust they would need to buy. Let's say if you're selling a $97 product, or let's say you're selling a $50 product, you don't need a call. Nobody needs a call. You can just put a website and you can pretty much sell that. That's basically called e-commerce. You just do that on mass and then you make money. Now, and the issue with as the higher the price goes, you need to sit there and understand is that that person is going to think more, because having $50 and having 50K is a really, really different sort of thing. Let's say you're about to pitch someone for $5 million. Would you do that yourself, or would you just take someone on a setter, or would you just hire someone for that? You would do that yourself. The real estate guys, there's a reason why they take the person in-house. They make them experience. They give them all these scenarios. Hey, your child's going to play here, they're going to do that. It's for a particular reason, and the reason is being that they get that feeling, they get all that information, all those emotions, so they irrationally, and this is sort of true, most buyers, most people are emotional and they buy out of irrationality. Now the higher it goes, their logic goes up. So most people that buy that $50 product are not going to think that much. They're 90% going to be these dudes. But as soon as you hit that 50K mark, you're going to have business owners, people who actually think logically, and that's going to be a problem. That's why I'm saying You have to sell yourself if you're doing above 5K. And of course, if you have a lot of lead flow, if you're a massive business, then of course you need to do your thing. It doesn't really make sense. But usually, if you're selling between 5K to 10K or even higher above, do it yourself. If you have a low client list, if you have a lot of clients, of course, you need to delegate that. If you're selling below that, I wouldn't really recommend like having like closer because you're selling to mostly I mean, you have educated buyers. That's what I talked about in the bottom funnel video, but it's not even about that. It's more so about the people that are going to come in. They're going to have more money in their pockets. And also it's easier to convince someone to pull out 2 grand rather than 8 grand on different sort of offers and whatever your offer requires. Maybe you're the big, I don't know, if you, maybe you could be the, I don't know, the Federal Reserve watching my video. If you're the Federal Reserve, I really appreciate it. But if you're a massive authority, then again, you don't really need a closer. Like you don't really need to do it yourself. You need a closer, which can work both ways. But if you're someone around like 15, 20, 30K a month, you should close it yourself if you have a high ticket offer. Of course, delegate that if you can, but you need to get good at the job itself. That's the first part. Now, second part is marketing. Now, scripting, filming, editing. Most of these things, of course, not the editing, but the editing needs to be, just hire an editor. There's no way around it. Scripting can be done by AI. You need to give yourself a JSON profile. Most of you don't know JSON profile. You can go check out videos on there. Create your ICP on that JSON profile, just like a long list. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions. Like when I say bunch, I mean bunch. There's a great community called the AI Frontrunners. You guys can join that. I know some people in there. I know some friends. Massive, massive. Like JSON profiles are the best thing on the planet because the JSON profile gives you like the actual language of the AI. So like it's like AI, like learn code. Like it's literally like basically it's just code written in simple words. But it'll ask you questions. What's your business size? What was this? Was this? Was this? Once you've answered all this, it gets a clear understanding of your ICP, and then it can create a framework which you can work on. This is how I work. Like I know my clients, I know my people. That's why I say like 10, 15K a month. I know all these things. Why? Because I have AI that given me the framework to do it. Now, if you have filming, this is super important. Have to create content in a way that speaks to your ICP and what they would like to see. Hire someone who understands your business. If you're a basketball coach, hire some kid who has played basketball or someone who's a fan. If you're a football coach, hire someone who's played football who's really good at it. You need to see the way the viewers will see. You cannot sell what you want to sell. You want to sell and perceive yourself in a way that the market wants. What does that basically mean? Is that you need to create angles, create different sources of like angles and filming content that speaks to your again what ICP. That's it. How do they act? What's like kind of their pain points? Let's say if I'm a doctor and I help knee problems. I'll show up a client or a patient that has knee problems and I'll show that video to them because it relates. So you guys, this is like pretty basic stuff, but people still get this wrong. Content manager. Now this is super key. If you can find one, this is going to be so much easier to do and just like add scale. You need someone who can just get the KPIs of these 3 people. Scripting, if you're doing that yourself, don't need to like have your own KPIs. Of course, keep yourself accountable. You're the business guy. But these 2 people, they need like what are they bringing to the business, how much money they're making, because staff should do 2 things, guys, by the way. It's either they make you money, they make a money symbol, boom, 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 or they save you time. That's an S. And basically, these 2 things are super, super needed for any sort of business because why are they there then? If they're not going to make you more money or save your time, why are you hiring them? Just do it yourself. Stop watching Game of Thrones. Just stop watching whatever you guys watch, whatever it is. Hire a content manager. This is like ad skills. So I'm talking about like 30, 40K a month. Super, super important. And yeah, but that can also look at the numbers, refine them, see the data, what's happening. Like, this video outperformed this one. This happened with that. When you said these words that were better. Even me, I don't have a content manager, but it's like really when you want to like have edge over the market. If you're in a really competitive market, a content manager, someone who understands your niche, someone who can understand the scripting, an editor that can kind of see through your eyes. It's a massive, massive shift in your marketing. Because here's another point that I want to make is that you guys need to do this. Boom, 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 and boom. That's 20, by the way. That's 2. 80% of your conversion needs to be done by your marketing. Yes, you don't need to hire 15 closers. You don't need to hire 7 or 8 setters. All your marketing should bring qualified, educated buyers. If they're not doing that, then you're making content for in vain or an insanity. William Brown's one of the greatest guys in the space. You have seen him. He has like 14K subscribers on YouTube. This guy makes $1 million a month, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's insane. Why? Because he speaks to his ICP, he knows his buyers, and he creates content in a way that actually helps them. Same thing you guys need to do. If you're not making content that's getting you paid, then why are you even making it? Likes ain't cash. You probably heard that, JK Molina. Likes is not cash. That's the biggest goal out of it. Now, I move this. Here you have data. If you want to add skill, you need to track. You need to see what's happening. Ask yourself why. Steve Jobs, one of your favorite guys, Apple. I know you guys love him. I do as well. Steve Jobs, one of the greatest entrepreneurs, one of the greatest men, like probably that lived in terms of innovation technology, asked why. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we not doing this? Most people don't ask why. When you ask, you need to ask your staff call, say, okay, why are you using that follow? Why are you not using this? Why are you not using that? Because it's not to like belittle them. It's not to make them embarrassing. It's not to like make them like, well, what are you doing? It's more so like, okay, I want to know why. Because if you can know the why, you can understand the mechanism of why that thing is, pursuing them, whatever they're doing. Maybe it's follows, whatever it is. Maybe that's content making and whatever you're trying to recreate in your business. Now, after this, we have something called systems and fulfillment. Now, this is super important again. Every success counts, every failure counts. Your client fulfillment needs to be easy and easy to replicate and do it over and over again. With you not pulling the main switch, and what do you do now? Track and make systems. Removing humans from your business will give you 10x more consistency. That's why you need systems, SOPs, CRMs, tracking, all of it. Why? Because you and your team is the biggest bottleneck in your business. If I can have 5 guys who are superhuman, who have superhuman capabilities, who can conceive anything in this world and can do wonders, why would they not succeed in a business? Why would they not have the money that they want? Why? Because people are inefficient. That's why AI is scary to people, because inefficiency is what AI basically knocks out of the park. It's like, okay, bye, no more inefficiencies. So the more systems you have, because you know what systems can do? Systems are so much easier to improve. That's an S, by the way, again. Systems are so much easier to improve than a human. It doesn't have moods, doesn't have birthdays, doesn't have parents, doesn't have anything. It's just a system. And the more and more you focus on like creating systems and making that better, the higher is the rate of your agency or whatever service-based business you have and fulfilling the goals that you have. Now, and even with systems and fulfillment, they're not just for you, they're for your clients. You need to track your clients. When you need to track every single failure, okay, why is that going wrong? Why is that going good? Track your wins. The more you track, the easier it's going to be. The more you help people get better, the more you're going to attract them through your marketing. Because as I told you, that does 80% of the conversions. That means testimonials, having good results, having clients is super crucial, because the more this can convert, the easier mechanisms you're going to have and the more money you're going to make. That's the entire purpose of this video. Now, what do I want you to take this video away from is just focusing on who are you going to delegate with and also with this entire, I'm not saying to hire like 15 guys, 3 teams max. People are doing 200K a month with 3 people teams, but they're A players. They care about the business. They can think. That's what I said. The more they can think, the more money they're going to make. That's extremely key. The reason why people hired me, I was a setter. I was then taken to close it. I was then taken to being a setter manager. All these things. Why? Is because I was thinking, because I was saying, hey, we can improve this, improve that. Some of the guys even told me, you should be an entrepreneur. That's why I was like, you know what, let me just go out there and do it. Because they told me that, because they knew I wasn't cut just to do mindless jobs. I was there to think, I was there to actually do stuff which matter. This is the entire purpose of this video. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a service-based business guy, if you're a coaching info industry, you can reach out to me on my IG. I have a bunch of assets which I can give you for free. And also I have a book a call link down below. I'm being that salesy guy, but really I can help you. This entire process that I told you about sales, about marketing, we have AI systems implemented for the entire thing. Like, this set content manager, just filming, all these things. We have re-engineering mechanisms that we use particularly for your niche, settings, booking calls. Only thing that you would require is closing or having a closer. That's it. We delegate 90% of our work. We create these systems. We create our own custom CRM tools. We create our own systems which are specific to you and your problems. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.